The iPhone 11 Pro in 2024 for $260 currently may be the best bang for your buck for a luxury level iPhone. Featuring a stainless steel frame, Apple's Pro camera system, and an OLED screen sure make it seem like a great value on the used market. But this phone may not be the right phone for some people, so in this review, I'm not only going to cover how well it holds up in 2024, but also give some buying advice I think a lot of people should be aware about. First, starting off with the iPhone 11 Pro itself. It was released in the fall of 2019 and is the Pro model iPhone compared to the regular iPhone 11. It comes in a 5.8-inch display size and a 6.5-inch display size on the iPhone 11 Pro Max, which is a bit more, coming in at about $300. Now, keep in mind the 5.8-inch iPhone 11 Pro is smaller than the 6.1-inch screen of the regular iPhone 11, so if you like bigger phones, the regular iPhone 11 or the iPhone 11 Pro Max might be better options. As for me though, I'm kind of a small phone guy, so the 5.8-inch display in the iPhone 11 Pro isn't a huge deal, but I know for a lot of people they do want bigger screens. And speaking of screens, the screens on these phones are phenomenal. The design of the screen continues the look brought by the iPhone X series with rounded corners and this all-screen design. At the top, you have a notch which houses your cameras and face ID sensors, which are used to unlock the phone and allow for things like Animoji. I'm also surprised with the quality of this display as well. It has a 458 pixel per inch screen resolution compared to the regular iPhone lens 326 pixel per inch screen resolution, and the screen on this too is also an OLED screen, so it can turn off individual pixels under the backlight of the display, which gives it this really nice color contrast and gives you deeper blacks, especially in low light scenarios. With the regular iPhone 11 though, you do not get any of those features. But from my experience of working at a phone repair shop, the people who hear the price of the iPhone 11 screen repair or the iPhone 11 Pro screen repair are usually a little less surprised though. I'll get into that a bit later. One downside though of the display in this phone is the refresh rate. It can only go up to 60 Hz, whereas on the iPhone 13 Pro and newer Pro iPhones, it can do 120 Hz. Now, this is something that, using this phone for a while, you're not going to notice. But if you hold this side by side by like a newer Pro iPhone, like an iPhone 13 Pro, for example, you're going to notice that the refresh rate on the 13 Pro it feels a lot smoother to use compared to the 11 Pro. But then again, if you're comparing these phones side by side, you're not really going to notice or care. And then as for the color quality of this display, I would say it's about the same as your typical phone screen. It does have P3 wide color gamut, which gives you, nice color quality. And the display can go up to 800 nits of brightness, which really helps in daylight. And it can go to 1200 nits for HDR content. This is a lot more compared to the iPhone lens 625 nits, and that extra brightness does help in broad daylight. Another thing we really need to talk about with this phone too is the design. The design of this is an upgrade from the iPhone 11, featuring a stainless steel frame instead of aluminum, a frosted glass back with this matte texture instead of just a regular glass back, and the iPhone Lens Series 2 was the first iPhone series to remove the iPhone text from the bottom of the back, and now it's just an Apple logo in the center, which has this really clean, minimalistic look to it. And then the rest of this phone carries this round design, which feels a lot more comfortable to hold in the hand compared to these newer iPhones' more boxier designs. On the left-hand side, you have your two volume buttons and a mute switch. On the right-hand side, you have your power button. On the bottom, you have your speakers and the lightning port, which Apple did just recently switch to USB-C with the iPhone 15s. However, I think lightning is still going to be pretty common, at least for a few more years. And as someone who upgraded to the iPhone 15 Pro that now uses USB-C, I found it really annoying having to upgrade all my cables. So just take that as you will for these next few years, not having to upgrade all your cables and switch to USB-C. And then the back of this phone supports wireless charging. It's IP68 wire resistant, so it can hold up well to some drops. I wouldn't really trust the wire resistance too much though, because these are older iPhones. They've probably been opened at some point to replace a screen or a battery, or the seals have just worn down over time. And then the phone can come in silver, space gray, gold, and midnight green color options. Another thing I want to take a look at with this phone is performance, because it is 5 years old now. iOS 17 is definitely still usable on this phone, and it ran decently smooth scrolling through apps, web pages load decently fast, and overall I'm not really disappointed with how iOS 17 performs. However, I did notice though that with some of the newer features like customizing wallpapers, it would be kind of slow in those scenarios, which is to be expected because it's a newer feature. This phone too is also getting iOS 18, and it's probably going to get maybe one major iOS update after that. And then after that, probably like another year or two of app support updates. So this phone definitely still has some life ahead of it, but just keep in mind it may run slower though with these newer iOS features that are being added. And then for wireless connectivity, this phone still uses 4G, and the differences between 4G and 5G can vary. In a more urban area like a city, for example, 5G is probably going to get you faster speeds and better connectivity, but in more rural areas, the differences between 5G and 4G are probably not going to be very much. Now, I do think, again, 5G helps a lot with people who live in cities, but overall, 4G users I don't think are really going to have any issues. Another thing that separates the iPhone 11 Pro from the regular iPhone 11 is the cameras. In terms of improvements, the iPhone 11 Pro has an added LiDAR sensor, which helps with augmented reality software, and it has a third lens that's a telephoto lens for 2x optical zoom. But what's really interesting though is the rest of the camera specs are exactly the same as the iPhone 11. On the back camera, you have digital zoom up to 5x, 4K video recording at up to 60 frames per second, slow-mo video of up to 240 frames per second, stereo recording to pick up better audio, night mode for better nighttime photography, which was first introduced in the iPhone 11 series. And another improvement too with the iPhone 11 series is the ultra-wide camera for wider shots, and this is especially useful for taking photos of landscapes or groups where you want to get more of the photo in frame. And then the front camera slash selfie camera, it has a 12 megapixel camera, which is an improvement over the 7 megapixel camera on the iPhone XS. And it can do 4K video at up to 60 frames per second, which to me is absolutely crazy for a front facing slash selfie camera. It also has true depth too for things like Face ID, Animoji, and portraits. Some of the things you are missing out camera feature wise on this phone are cinematic video, which gives you this blur effect around subjects, kind of like what you see in the movies, different night mode features for portraits and time lapses, as well as macro photography if you want to take photos of something up close and get more detail. And then another thing I really want to talk about with this phone too is battery life. I only got to use this phone for a few hours, so I haven't got a super good idea of battery life, but I can make my own assumptions from the data I have and from looking at what other people said online. After using it pretty consistently for about 3 hours, it drained 25% battery health, and basing it off of that, I can assume with a newer battery, you're probably going to get anywhere between 6 to 8 hours of screen on time. And that seems to be pretty accurate with what a lot of people said online and their results. So what do I mean by battery health, new batteries, etc.? Well, as batteries are used in the age over time, they hold less capacity. And this is something you really want to think about before buying a used iPhone. The iPhone 11 Pro I have here did have its battery replaced at some point by a third party. So unfortunately, I can't check the health, but I know it's going to be higher than most used iPhone 11 Pros out there. A vast majority of shops out there that do sell these though guarantee at least 80% battery health, including the ones I linked down below. But I'd really try to keep in mind if battery health is important to you or you think the battery might need to get replaced at some point, to consider that cost when factoring in this phone. A new battery from Apple is going to cost roughly $89, and from a third party, it's going to be anywhere between $60 to $80. So just make sure you factor that cost in when you're considering battery life and what you plan on using the phone for. And then speaking of repairability is another thing I really want to talk about with this phone. I used to work at a phone repair shop, and I'm often shocked by the prices it costs to repair this phone. Screens, for example, from Apple, it's a whopping $279. Third parties, it's a bit cheaper, roughly $200 for an OLED screen, around $160 for an LCD screen, kind of like what the regular iPhone 11 has. As for other repairs, a camera is roughly $60 for just the glass, and with the lens and stuff, the actual sensor, it's obviously going to be a bit more. Charging ports, back glass repairs, and a vast majority of other repairs out there are worth just about as much as the phone, if not more. So definitely be careful of this phone. Always have a case, a screen protector, and even a camera lens protector on it. Now we're getting to buying options, comparisons to other used iPhones, and general advice I think you should be aware about before making a purchase. First up, we have Facebook Marketplace, and this is typically where you're going to find the best deals, and you can oftentimes get the device within a day. However, there is a lot of work of having to message the seller, to drive out and meet them, and then to test the device. Also, too, there's no warranty to back up any issues, and if you want to return it, there's no return window. That's where an online store like PlugTech may come in handy. They are a bit more, but you do get a 30-day money-back guarantee, a 1-year warranty for manufacturer's defects, a professionally tested and reset iPhone, and they have these things too called iPhone Starter Packs, which basically includes a clear case, a pre-installed screen protector, and a fast charger for a lot cheaper than what you can find them individually off of Amazon. As I'm making this video, they currently have a deal where if you place your first order of $100 or more, you get a $10 discount by using the affiliate link down below. From there, they'll go package up and ship your order, and most orders arrive typically within 2 to 4 business days. And then the final option you could consider too is Amazon. They have a lot of the same benefits as a business with a 90-day warranty and a money-back guarantee. Also, the device will typically arrive in 2 to 4 business days. I'll leave links to both Amazon and PlugTech down in the description if you're interested. Now, getting on to our comparison, there are a few things I think you should keep in mind here. 1, what are the features you really care about in a phone? 2, how long is the phone going to last you? 3, what is the resale value of the phone going to be once you're done? And 4, what is the overall quality / value you're getting out of the phone? And the first iPhone I'm going to bring up here to compare to the iPhone 11 Pro is actually the regular iPhone 11, which you can find for roughly $220. It's going to last you just as long as the iPhone 11 Pro with roughly 1 to 2 years of the latest iOS updates and a year or so of app support updates after that. The screen size is also bigger, 6.1 inches instead of 5.8 inches on the iPhone 11 Pro, but the screen is an LCD screen, so you do miss out on some of those OLED features like deeper blacks. Another thing I think you should be aware about too with the iPhone 11 and iPhone 11 Pro and more of these older iPhones is what is the resale value of it going to be once you're done. Oftentimes people will buy these phones and not realize that once it stops getting the latest iOS updates, how hard it is to resell the phone. So my top recommendation is, if you can, buy a phone that's a year newer than what you need, because it's going to be a lot easier to resell a phone that still gets the latest iOS updates than one that doesn't. And that leads me into my next phone I want to recommend, which is the iPhone 12 that you can find for roughly $280. The iPhone 12 brings a more modern looking, boxier design. It has the A14 processor, which is going to get you 2 to 3 years of the latest iOS updates and about a year or 2 of app support updates after that. It has 5G connectivity, a higher quality OLED display just like the iPhone 11 Pro, and it's a bigger 6.1 inch display. This would be my top recommendation for most people because it's just slightly more than what an iPhone 11 Pro costs. However, you do miss out on some of the more premium iPhone features like a stainless steel frame, a frosted glass back, the LiDAR sensor, the telephoto camera. But overall, I just think the iPhone 12 is a much better value. I used to own an iPhone 12 for like 3 years, which for a tech guy is kind of a long time. And I love that phone. It still holds up well. My brother has an iPhone 12. It still holds up well for him and he loves it. So overall, iPhone 12 is still a great phone. I will also leave a video up on screen too to check out. That's kind of a more in-depth review of the iPhone 12 if you're interested. And then next up, we have the iPhone 12 Pro. Now I think this is great for those who want like the features of the iPhone 12. A lot of the Pro features like the frosted glass back, stainless steel frame, telephoto camera, and LiDAR sensor that the Pro iPhones are known for having. But also too, the iPhone 12 Pro does have an upgrade feature for nighttime portraits, which honestly is kind of a small change, but some people may really like that. So you can find the regular iPhone 12 Pro for $370 and $450 for the iPhone 12 Pro Max. So in conclusion, the iPhone 11 Pro is a great option for those who want a premium feeling iPhone with nice camera features. However, I'd say for the average user, the regular iPhone 11 or the regular iPhone 12 are just much better values. And you could consider the iPhone 11 Pro Max too if you do want like a big display. But that's just my general verdict on this phone. If you're looking for more iPhone reviews, I'll go put a playlist up on screen. Also too, if you found this video helpful, be sure to leave a like because it's greatly appreciated by me and it makes me feel greatly appreciated. But anyways, thank you all for watching and goodbye.